If you think that you hate game journalists, there's a good chance you don't hate them enough. Black Myth Wukong has been a game that has been in the crosshairs of the game journalism community ever since they said no to an extortion attempt by diversity, equity, and inclusion firms like Sweet Baby Inc. to the tune of something like $7 million. Now that the game's about to come out, the claws are coming out of these journalists, and we're going to talk about it today on That Game Place.
Hi, friends, and welcome back to That Game Place. That's right, with our friend Marvin the Movie Monster, who did a wonderful introduction right there. And of course, we are definitely going to talk about Black Myth Wukong, and just kind of a really poor review, one that's just soaked in the absolute stench of DEI detected and rejected. It is not a good day for outlets such as this one. Screen Rant. That's right. They give us this terrible, terrible review. Marvin, have you read this disaster?
Yes, I have. And it's funny because when you read like Screen Rant's review and you look at IGN's review, and then you look at independent reviewers, you see two very different stories playing out, because most independent reviewers that are not backed by the sweet baby agenda have absolutely nothing but praise to give this game. I've seen people calling it already a contender for game of the year. I've been seeing a lot of positives around this, but apparently there's not enough diversity in this game about animal people.
Huh. Well, let's jump forward and read through the story then, because apparently it has Souls-like action. It's a little off the rails. Oh boy. So quick, they have all these things: cinematic masterpiece, poor performance, combat is engaging and addictive. This all seems contrary to these things. It doesn't make use of its environment. Boss arenas are equally shallow. Environmental choices don't work out. I think this is really a lot of things that I've seen, from everybody else, is that this is a really amazing game.
Yeah.
So, in the role of the Destined One, Black Myth Wukong takes players on a cinematic story driven experience in an action RPG based on an adaptation of Journey to the West, using dynamic combat and skills to defeat formidable enemies, cunning spirits, and the mythic Yao Guai. Players traverse through breathtaking landscapes, from lush forest to towering mountains and mystical temples. Well, that sounds awesome. There are a variety of elements of great design by developer Game Science, engaging narrative, and varied boss fights, especially. Black Myth Wukong also presents issues, that can severely impact gameplay experience and reliability of the game. I wonder.
Now, these gameplay issues, or are these social issues? Because it's probably
Oh,
both.
okay. Well, we'll see. But taking into account its controversies, there are none, except if you're Screen Rant or IGN or such. With current modern gaming audience, there is no such thing as a modern gaming audience. We've proven that with games like The Squad and several recently that have entirely shut down studios, like Volition. And expectations of Souls-like games, whether Black Myth Wukong lives up to the hype, is questionable at best. Well, only from you.
They're saying it's controversies with the current modern gaming audience. It is not controversial with the audience at all. I've seen no discourse around any legitimate accounts on any social media platform being like, this game is socially terrible and lack of inclusion and blah, blah, blah. I've seen none of that. You know where it comes from? It comes from Screen Rant. It comes from IGN. It comes from Kotaku. It comes from Polygon. It comes from all these shill outlets that have a very clear agenda that don't give one hoot and holler about the actual game itself or video games in general.
Yeah, no, I'm right with you. I mean, if you look at it, they are only giving this game 3 stars. Now, we have some contradictory information as to whether or not players are enjoying it, which we're going to do a separate video on. If you've already seen it, thank you. If you haven't, it's right up there, and take a look at it. But they say the pros are the combat is fluid and fun. Cinematography can be breathtaking at times. It has great diversity in items and mechanics, which is all gamers want as far as diversity goes. And then the cons are the game performance is unpolished and without any kind of like depth to that statement.
Yeah.
Lacking in inclusivity and diversity. Well, it's talking about a specific location at a specific time with a very specific set of what would be regional characters. So I don't think any of that is required. And then finally, gameplay becomes repetitive over time.
Now,
All right.
here's another thing about this article culture. Scroll up for a second to the author's name. I want you to take a look at who the author of this is.
Screen Rant team.
Yes, because they removed the name of the author from the review for quote safety reasons.
Yeah, because they know that the liar
Ugh.
is going to get called out on social media.
But
That's
then
the
they're
only
also trying to
safety
make
they're
it sound like
looking
people are
for.
going to be threatening this person. And we all know that was
Uh,
never going to happen.
no, but they're going to laugh them out of the room.
Yes.
You know, but look, a cinematic masterpiece with poor performance. Now, wait a minute. Game performance is unpolished. All right.
Mhm.
Okay. In its optimal settings, Black Myth Wukong is a cinematic masterpiece with stunning, captivating visuals that truly immerse you in its world. Sounds spectacular to me.
Yeah.
It has achieved high amounts of detail and beauty in the mundane, as well as in its vast landscapes. Well, also sounds amazing. Reflections in rippling water to capturing the veins of every single tiny leaf of flora surrounding you. It's a shame that due to its appalling performance, it isn't possible to see and appreciate the visuals.
Appalling? Wow.
What's
Wow. There's
weird
only one
is,
thing that's appalling in this review.
well, the person that wrote it, but
Yeah.
when you look at this, you're like, wait a minute. If all these things are visible and you can see them, how is there appalling performance that keeps you from seeing them?
This is so very clearly written with an agenda behind it. Like you could feel it in every sentence.
Yeah, I think that's quite clear. I mean, these fatal flaws, those are fatal flaws, by the way, Marvin, consist of frequent stuttering, severe lag, desynced audio, and terrible frame rates.
That's the first I'm hearing about that, and I've watched like 5 different reviews of this game today.
Yeah, and like the visual I've seen are not a reflection of any of this description. I wonder if the person who was reviewing this game didn't have a machine that was, sufficient to play this game at full settings, which is basically what they're saying they do.
That's probably true.
Um, with recommended specs for the game, that should allow for optimal performance. Many areas from Chapter 2 onwards are entirely unplayable and become only marginally better when on the lowest graphic settings. Interesting.
That's
Marvin,
weird.
do you think anybody still that is a serious gamer is playing on an Intel i5 right now?
No, probably not. And a games journalist should not be either. So, if this is going to be your job, maybe invest in some better hardware.
Well, and I'm not going to hardware shame them, but I mean, an AMD Ryzen 5 1600, reasonable. The recommended processor is an i7. Well, dude, whoever reviewed this, you're not rocking an i9. You're not rocking heavy duty, something heavy duty like maybe a 4080 or at least a
Right.
4070 or a 3070 or anything like that. I mean, it should be, the 3060 should handle this really cleanly. So again, not hardware shaming, but come on now. So they're just saying that unless these issues are subject to change in an upcoming patch, I don't see many players being able to run Black Myth Wukong if this is problematic on the recommended spec. Should Game Science fix these issues, it would certainly change our final scoring. Oh,
Oh,
okay. You
boy.
didn't knock
They
it
still
down
gave
two
it a 3
stars.
out of 5, though.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But you know where
Like,
that
this is
it,
not
those.
reading as a 3 out of 5 review.
Well,
Trust
again,
fund.
I'm looking at this saying, where the knocks came,
Right.
lacking inclusivity and diversity, and they're saying
Right.
the game is repetitive. Most of these games that are like this are somewhat
Yeah, of
repetitive.
course. God of War can be
Yeah,
repetitive. I mean, like,
yeah,
Devil May Cry.
yeah, and those were game of the year at a
Yeah.
certain point in time. So yeah, I don't know, but the combat. Wait a minute, didn't they just say it gets repetitive? Because it
Yep.
just says one of the best features of Black Myth Wukong is its combat,
Just
showcasing an extensive variety of abilities that players can select from and hone. In the main menu, you can put your levels, known as sparks, into several categories. This consists of everything from foundational skills like stamina, martial arts, and survival to staff stances, mysticism, spells, and more. At first glance, this
Huh.
can seem overwhelming. Okay. So players have so much to consider when designing. Have they never played a From Software game?
I would venture to guess that this might be this person's first ever video game because you know how it is with these games journalists. They you know they are gamers in name only for the most part.
Yeah, but I would think that in an RPG, you would be used to all these different
Right.
settings and things that you can do to build
Yeah.
out your character in a particular way. So that's weird.
Right.
But they do note that the leveling system allows for so much freedom, and players can also reset their sparks and redistribute them whenever they please, which is
Oh, I like that.
something you oftentimes have to exchange resources for to do on a
Right.
lot of other games. So, how strange. As for how combat performs itself, player can only use staff as their main weapon, which is clearly an intentional move by game science, wanting players to have a pure melee focused fighting experience with abilities and skills available aside from your weapon, and with all varied combos and stances the players can channel through their staff. Combat isn't repetitive or boring.
Wait, I thought the gameplay was repetitive and boring, but now the
Uh,
combat isn't. But isn't most of this game combat? I,
Gameplay becomes repetitive over time.
but combat is fun and fluid, according to this.
I'm
Oh
so
boy.
confused. Wait a minute. So, one unique feature that Black Myth Wukong introduces is that there is no blocking or parry system aside from a spell with a cooldown, making you rely solely on dodging. While this is an integral skill in so many Souls like games, not having any other means for defense forces players to learn how and when to effectively deal damage while keeping themselves safe. This vulnerability adds a challenging layer to boss fights, penalizing players who haven't mastered this skill. So, guess what? The gameplay's challenging, but
Oh
repetitive.
no! Alert the papers! Run!
Mm. I'm going to skip down because this is frustrating.
Yeah.
Black Myth Wukong does not make use of its environment.
The environment
Hugely
looks
lacks,
stunning to me.
hugely lacks mobility and environmental movement. What are they talking about? Like three dimensional movement, like flying and stuff? They did a beautiful job of creating an immersive, stunningly captivating environment with vast landscapes. The main criticism lies in its interactive limitations. The majority of the landscape cannot be utilized, limiting players' mobility and maneuverability while exploring.
Ugh,
Cons-
this reeks of just like I wanted a very specific thing that the game didn't do, and so I'm knocking the game instead of just criticizing what the game actually gives you.
I mean, they're probably looking for the ability to fly around and do, other things like that. Maybe scale things. I don't
Right,
know.
right,
The environment makes it far more tedious to get to certain bosses.
okay.
So you have to like walk down the path that's there to
I
get
guess
to
so.
from one place to another.
Apparently,
Okay. The inability to use terrain to your advantage. You mean like line of sight? Oh, demonstrate parkour abilities. That's what they were looking for. They
okay.
wanted to be able to climb over the mountain to get someplace faster.
Right, right. Makes sense.
I
I
see.
mean, you know what? You're playing as a monkey, so I guess like you'd think you'd have some parkour.
Mm, I don't know. I mean, if you're going to build out an environment, you kind of want everybody to see it, and you kind of want gameplay to take a little while.
Mhm.
And while I'm tempted to read more of this review, and I'm sure Marvin, you've already read this,
Yes.
I'm going to skip past repetitive uh, enemy and boss encounters. That's normal for these games. Design choreography. I want to skip past that. I want to get to the thing that really bothers these people.
Yeah,
Here it
the thing.
is.
Yeah, there we go. The thing that they're actually mad about.
Yeah. And we know they're mad about this. It's the only thing they can really be mad about. Largely lacks inclusion and representation.
Well, and not only culture are they mad about this, but they're mad about the fact that when I don't know if it was Sweet Baby or one of these other diversity firms like went to them and were like, give us $7 million and would be a real shame if everyone thought your game was sexist or whatever, and they told them to go float.
Yeah, which is kind of would have been my response too, but apparently they're butthurt about this, and they say
Oh,
Black
yeah.
Myth Wukong characters lack diversity. While my analysis and review of Black Myth Wukong remain focused on gameplay, it's important to mention the controversies that you created and
Yeah.
IGN created.
Out of
S-
poorly translated,
yeah,
poor translations too, let that be known.
yeah. Controversies surrounding the game studio and the reports of, here we go, misogyny and an ism from developers. Playing as a female gamer. Oh, so this is a
Oh, now it
female
suddenly makes more
gamer.
sense.
Yeah.
The game had
A
to be
lot.
about you, and it wasn't, so you're mad.
Yeah. Playing as a female gamer allowed me to notice issues surrounding inclusion and representation, which is
Huh.
why they're butthurt. So, as far as chapters 1 and 2, while characters are clearly fictitious and fantastical creatures, there were no female or feminine NPCs, enemies, or bosses present.
Oh, wow, can I go pre-order this a second time?
You
That
might be
sounds
able to.
great.
Yeah. The only exception, if you call it female, is a boss named Mother of Stones in Chapter 2, which is nothing more than a still glowing rock with no abilities being guarded by other enemies.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! Is this author now calling the gender of this still glowing rock into question? That's offensive.
I don't know. I know this that according to this reviewer, the lack of diversity and inclusivity resonates with the misogynistic comments reported to have been made by
Yeah,
developers.
because it was all
Okay. Did you call and talk to them? Have you is somebody at your rag got a background on this? Is there something you
absolutely
can
not. They,
reference? Is there a
they
reference you can put into your story or your review that would give people an idea what you're talking about? I don't know. Anyway, apparently they expressed disdain for women playing their games. Probably not, because they're a company that wants to make money, so they want everybody to buy their game. But regardless, although Black Myth Wukong does have truly enjoyable moments, the underlying feeling that women aren't welcome in this world felt present throughout my gameplay experience because,
that's
well,
funny because I felt in games like The Squad and Forspoken and other things that men were not welcomed in the space. So
well,
maybe it's just time that got turned around.
I actually think that maybe that game felt like nobody was going to be welcomed in the space,
Right.
but I hear you. Now, while this doesn't take away from the exhilaration and fun of boss fights themselves, women fans of Souls games may have a different perspective. What? Especially
You know
given,
what's funny, Culture? I can enjoy Tomb Raider perfectly fine. I could play Bayonetta perfectly fine without being like, "Oh, I'm not seeing myself in this game." Like, you don't have to play or interact with people that are exactly like you to enjoy a game. Just enjoy the story for the love of God.
we know that they definitely have a unique perspective. So they're saying that the developer also suggested that women aren't capable of enjoying or being skilled at these types of games. Again, this is a lot of claims with not a lot of actual like citations. I
Yeah,
really don't
according to
enjoy.
reports. No.
Yeah, yeah, I don't enjoy that, right? So the irony behind this sentiment is that Black Myth Wukong is among the easiest of the Soul-like games and may have overestimated its ability to hang with them in terms of difficulty. Because you completed it? I don't know. I'm curious about that statement. While
Yeah.
thematically and stylistically it undoubtedly falls under this category, it does not quite fit the bill in the technical skills required, such as achieved by games like Elden Ring, Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, and many more. Well, yeah, whatever.
Uh,
So the score here, which we finally have gotten to, because we skipped major portions of what it seems to be inane ramblings, um, is 3 of 5. Very good by Screen Rant's review metric. Despite its flaws, it's worth trying, with potential to have one of the next best Souls like games and portraying a beloved cultural gem of a novel, Black Myth Wukong. Missed many opportunities and has inherent issues that must be addressed and fixed to be considered a serious contender for other Soul likes. Should this be the case, I would bump the score to 3.5 at least.
oh boy.
And again, here we go again. But given that most of the shortcomings lie in performance, here it is: diversity and the gameplay that I didn't enjoy because I wanted to climb over the mountains to make this
Right.
easier and faster. Um, that would have transformed it into something great if you just had diversity, Marvin.
Yeah, if there were just some black people and women in this game, man, that would have just made it so much better.
Yeah, and here's that editor's note: the author's name has been removed for their safety. Well, guess what? If you read any of the other reviews on games done by that person, the tone and the haughtiness is going to tell you who it was that did it.
Yeah.
So
Well, no, it
whatever.
probably won't because all of Screen Rant's writers have that same snide, nose in the air kind of voice.
Oh, and if you want to get the citations here, they give you a note, probably because it got some criticisms similar to ours just now. Um, that they live in a culture where some of these things are just the way it is. Maybe I don't know, but
Huh,
you can definitely find the details here. Well, I'm not going to find them from you because I don't trust you at all. But
definitely
anyway,
not.
there's that, and that's where it's coming from. And I bet you if I dug hard enough, I could actually extract the name. But tell me your
Not
thoughts on
important.
this,
Not
Marvin.
important.
Yeah,
Uh,
tell me your thoughts, my friend.
Now,
What do
my
you
thought.
think here?
So I think that you're seeing a a game that stood up to the games journalism industry, that stood up to the sweet baby industry, that just, which is what I call the all of the different diversity firms popping up all over the place, whether it's BGG or SBI or any of the other ones. But it stood up and it stood its ground, and so it had to be destroyed because now if this game succeeds, and I should amend that to when this game succeeds because it's doing gangbusters numbers right now already on pre-orders. When this game succeeds, it throws their entire narrative of the modern gaming audience completely out the window.
Yeah, I again, I want somebody to prove to me there is this so-called modern audience before I actually buy anything any of these people say. But if
Exactly,
I'm
because
not
it doesn't
mistaken,
exist. It doesn't exist in games. It doesn't exist in movies. It doesn't exist in TV because the people that you're pandering to are not playing this game.
it's true. I want to ask you because you are reportedly for us. I just said their word reportedly,
Yes.
but you are going to be actually reviewing this game for us, correct?
Yep, that is
That
correct. I've pre-ordered the digital deluxe edition, so I'm going to stop playing it right when it drops, and then I will have a video review up on the channel, hopefully within the week. So we don't get advanced copies of games, so we got to play it when you guys get it, just like everybody else. So just give us a little bit, and we'll get that review up for you.
yep,
And
and I
I'm gonna try. I would like to try to stream it as well if we can work that out.
And I think we can. I think I can set that up and get that going for you. And I would love to see some of the gameplay that you do, other than some of the other gameplay that I've seen others do. And look, the game looks great. I don't care what anybody says. On that note, folks, what do you think? Because we really want to know. Are you excited for this game? Or can you take reviews like this seriously? Or should we consider the source from Screen Rant and IGN and similar, who only have one trick ponies that they ride every single time, which really seem to be all about identitarianism and other things that seem to be falling into this area? Wouldn't you like to just play a game without any of that? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments section below. And as we always say, get your game on.